You are hungry right now. Maybe not starving. Maybe just that low, dull pull behind your ribs that you have been ignoring for the last hour. You will probably open an app, scroll for 30 seconds, and have food at your door within the hour. That is so normal to you that you do not even think of it as remarkable. But here is what is remarkable. That hunger you feel, that exact sensation firing in your gut right now, your ancestors felt it too. Every single one of them. Going back 2 million years. And what they did with it would completely change what you think food is. The real answer to what ancient humans ate on the move is far stranger than anything you have been taught. It is not a story about berries and roots. It is not a story about heroic hunters dragging down woolly mammoths. It is a story about a species so desperate, so creative, and so radically adaptable that they ate things that would make most modern humans gag on sight. And the wild part? That eating strategy is written directly into your body, into your gut, into your cravings, into the way your saliva works. You carry it right now. You just do not know it yet. Let us go back. 2 million years ago, the landscape your earliest ancestors moved through was nothing like any wilderness documentary you have watched. Paleoanthropologist Richard Wrangham at Harvard has spent decades reconstructing what early hominins actually consumed. And what he found overturns almost every popular idea about the so-called paleo diet. The world these creatures walked through was vast, unpredictable, and brutally seasonal. Food was never guaranteed. It was hunted, foraged, stumbled upon, stolen, and sometimes fought over with bare hands. Your ancestors were not apex predators. Not yet. They were, for most of their history, somewhere in the middle of the food chain. Something that ate and was eaten. So what did they eat when they were moving? When the band packed up and followed the herds or the rains or the fruiting trees? Start with what was easiest. Insects. Before you recoil, understand this. Insects were not a last resort. They were a staple. High in protein, fat, and zinc. Easy to find under bark, in termite mounds, inside rotting wood. Entomologist Julie Lesnick at Wayne State University has argued extensively that insect consumption was not a desperate fallback, but a core nutritional strategy for early hominins. You find termite mounds in the same archaeological layers as early stone tools. That is not a coincidence. That is a menu. Your ancestors ate grubs, beetles, larvae, termites by the fistful, and they did it while walking. Traveling groups would tear open dead logs, scoop out what was inside, eat it warm and wriggling, and keep moving. No fire needed, no tools required, just calories that could keep a body moving across a savanna for another 5 miles. Then there were tubers, underground storage organs, the hidden larder of the ancient world. When the surface offered nothing, the ground below offered everything. Anthropologist Alison Brooks and her colleagues have documented evidence of underground plant consumption going back at least 2 million years, with starch granules found on early hominid teeth. Your ancestors learned to read the landscape for signs of what was buried beneath it. A certain vine, a particular discoloration in the soil, a patch of withered leaves. Then they dug, with sticks, with their hands, with flat stones sharpened just enough to pry. Raw tubers are tough, fibrous, difficult to digest, but they are calorie-dense and available year-round in ways that fruit and meat simply are not. When a group was on the move, crossing a dry stretch, tubers were the insurance policy that kept people alive across the hard miles. But here is where the story gets genuinely strange. Your ancestors did not just eat what was fresh. They ate what was dead. Scavenging. Real, committed, deliberate scavenging of large animal carcasses. Not picking at leftovers after lions had finished. Active, competitive scavenging where early hominins would track vultures circling in the sky, locate a kill, and race other predators to the bones. Because the bones were what they were after. Paleoanthropologist Travis Rain Pickering has spent years analyzing cut marks on bones from sites across Africa, and what he found is that early humans were specifically targeting the marrow. Thick, rich, calorie-dense marrow locked inside the femurs and tibias of zebras and wildebeest that larger predators had already abandoned. Lions cannot crack those bones. Leopards cannot crack those bones. But a hominin with a rock absolutely can. You carry this too. There is a reason bone broth became a wellness trend. There is a reason people crack open ribs at dinner tables. Your body recognizes what is inside bone as something deeply nourishing. That recognition is ancient. It is millions of years old. And while they were at the carcass, they were also eating everything else. Brain tissue, organ meat, whatever the large predators had left. High in fat, high in specific fatty acids that your brain right now needs to function. There is a compelling theory, still debated, that the dramatic expansion of the human brain was partially fueled by access to this kind of fatty, calorie-dense food that became available when your ancestors started cracking bones and consuming what was inside. Your brain may literally owe its size to scavenging. Keep moving through the timeline. Around 400,000 years ago, something changes. Fire. Controlled, repeatable, portable fire. Richard Wrangham's cooking hypothesis, laid out in his book Catching Fire, argues that cooking did not merely make food tastier, it fundamentally restructured the human body. Cooking breaks down cell walls, unlocks starches, denatures proteins. It pre-digests food before it even enters your mouth. The result is that your body extracts dramatically more calories from cooked food than from the same raw ingredients. Your gut shrank. Your teeth became smaller. Your face became flatter. All because fire was doing work that your digestive system used to do alone. And once fire was portable, once a group could carry an ember wrapped in bark or dung and rekindle it at the next camp, everything changed about what travel and eating looked like. Now a group moving through a landscape could cook the tubers they dug up along the way, could roast the insects they collected, could warm the marrow they had cracked open. Travel became paired with fire, and fire made calories available that had been locked away before. But fire also created something else. It created camp, a place to return to, a center point around which food was brought back, shared, and distributed. The social structure of eating was born in those camps. The idea that food was not just personal fuel, but communal currency, something shared, something that built loyalty and obligation, something that defined who was in the group and who was not. You still feel that. Sit down at a meal with strangers and watch how quickly the social temperature changes. Food unlocks something in you, a willingness to talk, a drop in defensiveness, an openness. That is not culture. That is not manners. That is an ancient social reflex built over hundreds of thousands of years of eating together around fire in the dark. Now push forward. Around 70,000 years ago, something extraordinary happens. Humans begin crossing open water, moving into entirely new ecosystem, arriving at coastlines, and what they find at the coast reshapes the diet again. Shellfish, sea snails, crabs, fish. The coastline of southern Africa shows evidence of regular shellfish consumption going back at least 164,000 years, documented in detail at Pinnacle Point by researchers including Curtis Marine at Arizona State University. Shellfish are extraordinary food for a moving species. They do not run. They cannot escape. They are packed with omega-3 fatty acids, iodine, zinc, and vitamin B12, nutrients that your brain, specifically your prefrontal cortex, specifically the parts of your brain responsible for planning and abstract thought, absolutely require. There is a theory, still contested but gaining traction, that consistent access to shellfish and coastal foods may have contributed to a cognitive expansion that allowed modern human behavior to fully bloom. Art, language, long-distance trade, symbolic thinking, all of it surfacing in the archaeological record right around the time coastal exploitation becomes visible. Your capacity to think abstractly, to imagine futures that have not happened, to plan for a winter that has not arrived yet, may have been fed into existence by the calories your ancestors pulled out of tide pools. You are, in a very literal sense, made of what they ate on the move. So what does this mean for you? Standing in your kitchen, or scrolling that delivery app, or grabbing something off a gas station shelf, because you are running late and your body is sending that old signal again. It means your appetite is ancient and it is intelligent. That craving for fat is not weakness. It is a 2-million-year-old survival algorithm running in your gut. The pull towards sweet is your body recognizing rare caloric density. The reason a rich bone broth feels like it reaches somewhere deep is because it does. The reason sharing food with someone changes how you feel about them is because food has always been the currency of trust. Your ancestors ate grubs and marrow and raw tubers and roasted shellfish and kept walking. They ate whatever the world offered, wherever the world offered it. And they survived every drought, every ice age, every migration across oceans. And tonight, when you open that app and scroll for 30 seconds, you will still be doing exactly what they did, looking for calories in a world that has them, trying to keep moving, The hunger has not changed. Only the map has.